Chris Jericho has the heart of a lion. He's a great performer. He's a great entertainer. But bro, when you're 54, you just can't do the things, you know, your mind is telling your body to do certain things that it cannot do anymore. So I would just think at 54 years old, that probably isn't a good decision to put the title on.
You know, there's been a lot of let's talk about this as far as AEW is concerned too. There's been a lot of backlash, you know, from the pro wrestling audience on the status of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's 54 years old now. He's Ring of Honor world champion for the second time. There's been some discussions that ROH may get a media deal. So they wanted someone who has some name value still at the forefront, which I can understand that from a business standpoint. But there's a lot of people, man, that are turning their backs on Chris Jericho and saying that he needs to let it go, man. What do you think about that when it comes to Chris Jericho right now?
Well, bro, I'll be honest. I don't watch it at all. I don't watch it. So that's why I never bury it. I don't comment on it because I don't watch it. I will say this, though. I saw some current pictures of him online, and, bro, he looks like a 54-year-old man. Yeah, you know, I mean, he's in great shape for a 54-year-old man, but he still looks like a 54-year-old man. Bro, I remember when I went to WCW, before I got there, Hogan and Flair were still in the main event, and it looked like crap. Yeah. And I knew I had to protect these guys from themselves. And, you know, man, Chris Jericho has the heart of a lion. He's a great performer. He's a great entertainer. But, bro, when you're 54, you just can't do the things, you know, your mind is telling your body to do certain things that it cannot do anymore. So I would just think at 54 years old, that probably isn't a good decision to put the title on.
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because I've told you before, Jericho's in my top 5 all time, still is. But I do think, you know, I'm not with the bizarro pro wrestling sphere of social media when it comes to these really ridiculous takes on people. So I'm not going to go that far when it comes to Jericho. But, you know, I will say that what's your, speaking of someone like a Jericho, someone who's 54, when is your like moment of, you know what, I think I'm good, man. You know, I think I'm good. I think my work here is done. I think that I've served my purpose. And then when you get that type of name value, then you start to you start to pay it forward, right? Or you leave a legacy, you know, you pay it forward in some ways, or you leave a legacy, you kind of put a bow on it, like The Undertaker did, for instance, and Sting as well. But the problem I always had with Jericho, man, and I don't know if this was a Vince thing, maybe Vince didn't see, and this is a question I'll pose to you, maybe Vince didn't see as much in Chris Jericho as you did or someone else did. But Chris Jericho, man, he was notorious throughout his career for just randomly putting people over and not having people kind of earn their stripes to beat him. I remember a random Shelton Benjamin win, a random Evan Bourne win, a random Fandango win at WrestleMania. You know, if I remember, he was going back and forth with Vince McMahon because Vince wanted Fandango. You know, no shade to Johnny Curtis, but Fandango was a flash in the pan at that time, man. And he wanted a random Fandango win at WrestleMania against Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho just kind of, you know, eventually he conceded to it. Do you think that type of Vince McMahon view of Chris Jericho of you're good in the ring, you've got some name value, so we're gonna put you on a platter to the next, you know, hot, you know, name? Do you think that's eventually, in the long run, hurt his career, which is the reason why he's still being ROH champion at 54?
Bro, I think it definitely hurt his career because I don't think Vince at his age, bro, I was working with Vince when he was in his late 40s. Okay. So I was there for Vince's 50th birthday. Bro, Vince did not understand cool. Vince did not get cool. Vince was not cool. Bro, nobody in the McMahon family was cool. They just weren't cool people.
Not even Shane?
Shane wasn't cool. No.
Really?
No. And Jericho was cool. I mean, he was cool. And, Vince failed to recognize that in him because Vince is at the bottom of the cool totem pole. So, yeah, bro, the way he was booked and some of the things that you just mentioned there, that certainly could have hurt him over decades and decades and decades, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Why do you think Jericho, despite that, was so loyal to Vince for so long?
I don't know, bro. Maybe it was important to him to please Vince. I mean, WWE and Vince McMahon, that's the pinnacle. And maybe it was just important for Chris to please Vince. But I just don't think Vince McMahon ever understood Chris Jericho. I don't think he ever got the gimmick at all.
What did you see in Chris to be interested in him coming from WCW?
Cool. He was cool. He was the coolest guy on the show, man. Yeah, I remember he was the coolest dude on the show, and I'm like, God, bro, we need him on our roster, man.
Yeah, I think he definitely built his stock up during the Goldberg feud. Goldberg never went against him. He refused to start a feud with him, but he would have those moments where he would count out Jericho. He would count out Goldberg. He'd be with Ralph's, and he would have shirts about it, and defend his offer his television championship as a defense against Goldberg. I think that if you want to go out with a bang and just incredibly increase your stock as far as going to another promotion, that's the way to do it, man. I think it was absolutely hilarious with the Ralph's gimmick. So yeah, man, I just wish that Jericho stood up. I wish that Jericho betted himself more to stand up in those particular conversations with Vince. And like, no, I'm not losing to him. Like, why in the world am I losing to Evan Bourne? Yeah. Like, Matt Sydal in the ring, great in-ring worker, fantastic. But give me a reason why I'm losing to Matt Sydal right now. This is a random show. It's a random pay-per-view that's building up to nowhere. Give me a 6-9 month plan. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you give me a 6-9 month plan and this makes sense, and eventually at the end he's going to win this championship and have this feud against this person. Oh yeah. Like, if you want to use me as a way to build this person up for that, 100%. But if you don't have a payoff, you just want to make Evan Bourne look better in the moment by having a quality win, no, you can count me out. And I think Jericho had way too many of those quality wins in the middle of people's feuds that, led to a dead end. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was unfortunate. So